morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are, and welcome to Global Atheist News, our weekly report on how religion has impacted humanity over the last 7 days. This week's headlines. The UK government has shut down Salvation Proclaimers Anointed Church, popularly known as SPAC Nation, over an alleged £1.87 million fraud. English bishops unite to condemn the shameful Rwanda plan for asylum-seekers. The UK asylum plan is defended by the Rwandan Anglican archbishop. Kenneth Copeland's Southwest Believers Convention promotion video splashes bling. A Trump-endorsed candidate, Kari Lake, spoke out against drag queens dancing for children. Another pro-Trump candidate calls for the killing of parents of gay kids. Secular candidates are rejected from chaplain posts in Australia. A Nigerian choir claims, if you don't have Jesus, you don't have anything. Belief in God in the USA dips to a new low of 81%. And this week's evangelical pastor is against facial hair. Beards are not of God. The Evangelical Salvation Proclaimers Anointed Church, popularly known as SPAC Nation, which was founded by Adeboyega, was wound up in the public interest in the High Court, the UK government announced on Friday, June the 17th, over a £1.9 million fraud. SPAC Nation was subject to media scrutiny following allegations by former church members that they had been financially exploited by senior church personnel. Last year, the fraudster, Pastor Toby, celebrated his birthday with 6 Lamborghinis, 2 Ferraris, and a Rolls-Royce Cullinan. A Nigerian Facebook site describes them as rogues disgracing Nigeria all over the world. The government's offshoring policy should shame us as a nation. The archbishops of Canterbury and York and 23 other bishops have said. On Friday, up to 130 people were given notice of their imminent deportation from the UK to Rwanda. Originally, 37 people were due to be on the first flight on Tuesday, but this was reduced through individual legal challenges. On Monday, the BBC reported a Home Office source saying that the figure had reduced to 8. By Tuesday afternoon, just 3 people were due to be on board. However, minutes before takeoff, the flight was cancelled after a late intervention from the European Court of Human Rights sparked new challenges in UK courts. The policy of deportation was included in the Nationality and Borders Act, which came into law in April, despite objections and attempted amendments from bishops and other peers. It was explicitly criticised by Archbishop Welby in his Easter sermon and, reportedly, by the Prince of Wales last week, who is said to have called it appalling in a private conversation. In a letter published in the Times on Tuesday, the full complement of bishops who sit in the House of Lords have written, whether or not the first deportation flight leaves Britain today for Rwanda, this policy should shame us as a nation. The letter continues, the shame is our own, because our Christian heritage should inspire us to treat asylum seekers with compassion, fairness, and justice, as we have for centuries. The government has argued that the scheme will thwart people smugglers by discouraging asylum seekers from crossing the channel. The bishops write, however, that the only way to reduce dangerous journeys and fight evil trafficking is to provide safe, legal routes to the UK. The people being deported are the vulnerable that the Old Testament calls us to value, and have had no chance to appeal or see their families in the UK, they write. We cannot offer asylum to everyone, but we must not outsource our ethical responsibilities or discard international law, which protects the right to claim asylum. Deportations and the potential forced return of asylum seekers to their home countries are not the way. This immoral policy shames Britain. That's the bishops in the Lords, the House of Lords here in the UK. Meanwhile, Rwanda's Anglican archbishop says he disagrees with the Church of England leaders over the UK's asylum plan. Archbishop Laurent Mbanda said it was not immoral and Rwanda was ready to welcome people needing a home. Under the terms of the 5-year deal, Rwanda becomes responsible for the asylum seekers who had travelled to the UK. They will be accommodated and supported while their claim is processed, and if granted permanent refugee status, will remain in Rwanda. Archbishop Laurent Mbanda said many Rwandans had lived in exile because of the genocide in the 1990s, so they understood the issues faced by people fleeing their homes. Kenneth Copeland is holding a Southwest Believers Convention, and he's released a promotional video. We're going to show it here. The car that appears in this video seems to be a 2022 Audi R8 Coupe, which retails for a minimum of $148,700. See this video.
Release the cruise control. Go full throttle with your fate. Southwest Believers Convention. Get there.
They kicked God out of schools and welcomed the drag queens. They took down our flag and replaced it with a rainbow, she wrote. They seek to disarm Americans and militarize our enemies. Let's bring back the basics: God, guns, and glory. Those are the words of Kari Lake, a pro-Trump candidate for governor of Arizona. On June the 4th, Lake's campaign also tweeted condemning drag queens. The account retweeted a video that showed a drag queen performing in front of kids in Texas and added, "This is grooming. This is child abuse. Maybe that's acceptable in Dallas, Texas, but it will not be tolerated in a Kari Lake-led Arizona." Richard Stevens, who has performed as drag queen Barbara Seville for decades, said in a Facebook post recently that he and Kari Lake used to be friends, but her comments on drag queens showed that she was a complete hypocrite. He included several photos of him and Lake and wrote, "I've performed for Kari's birthday. I've performed in her home with children present, and I've performed for her at some of the seediest bars in Phoenix." Stevens said he performed as Marilyn Monroe in front of Lake's daughter, who was around 9 or 10 at the time. I spoke up because Kari's alarming rise to power with these new views are scary and can lead to real harm to me and other marginalized people, Stevens said. Pro-Trump Republican candidate Pastor Mark Burns, who is running for the Congress of South Carolina, has called for the killing of the parents of LGBT kids. See this video.
Stabilize the republic we call the United States of America. That's why when I'm elected, I don't want to just vote. I want to start holding people accountable for treason to the Constitution. I am going to push to reenact HUAC. HUAC is the House of Un-American Activities Committee. It was a real committee that was formulated back in the 50s, and it's a committee that we should reenact that starts holding these people accountable for treason. We need to hold people for treason, start having some public hearings, and start executing people who are found guilty for their treasonous acts against the Constitution of the United States of America.
The vast majority of US adults believe in God, but the 81% who do so is down 6 percentage points from 2017 and is the lowest in Gallup's trend. Between 1944 and 2011, more than 90% of Americans believed in God. But May 2022 Values and Belief poll finds that 17% of Americans say they do not believe in God. Gallup first asked this question in 1944, repeated it again in 1947, and twice each in the 1950s and 1960s. In those 4 surveys, a consistent 98% said they believed in God. But when Gallup asked the question nearly 5 decades later, in 2011, 92% of Americans said they did not. Oh, they did believe in God. In 2011, 92% of Americans said they believed in God. This is going down. Gallup has also, in recent years, asked other questions aimed at measuring belief in a God or a higher power. All find that the vast majority of Americans saying they believe, but when given the option, 5 to 10% have said they were unsure. Belief in God has fallen the most in recent years among young adults and people on the left of the political spectrum. These groups show drops of 10 or more percentage points, comparing the 2022 figures to an average of the 2013 to 2017 polls. Most other key subgroups have experienced at least a modest decline, although conservatives and married adults have essentially no change. The groups with the largest declines are liberals, 62%, young adults, 68%, and Democrats, 72%. Belief in God is highest among political conservatives, 94%, and Republicans, 92%, reflecting that religiosity is a major determinant of political divisions in the US. About half of those who do believe in God, equal to 42% of all Americans, say that God hears their prayers and can intervene on their behalf. Meanwhile, 28% of all Americans say God hears prayers but cannot intervene, while 11% think God does neither. Australia's Defence Force discriminates against non-Christian applicants for positions of chaplain. See 2 rejected candidates in this video.
Really hard to find another chaplaincy position because no one will hire non-Christian chaplains. All the contracts have to be facilitated by a third party, and they're all Christian. And that's a condition of being hired by them, and I wasn't able to say that I was one. So even though there's a huge amount of money that's allocated for these jobs. Really, 95% of them are only available to people who are, you know, really deeply practicing Christians. Again, a lot of people are just automatically cut out of that job area. And it makes no sense, because if you're doing that work, you're not allowed to talk about religion. You know, prohibited. So it's not a religious position, it's a well-being position.
I've always felt that that was my real strength, the fact that I had such a passion for the pastoral care of the community that I worked with. And I thought, to me, I am the perfect candidate for the role of what they're calling chaplain. It is really just a social services provider, somebody that can link people to the support networks around them, somebody that can help to facilitate a community feeling, somebody that doesn't mind getting out and having a good time with the kids, having games and going on camps, all those things that I love doing. You know, I was a scout leader. I'm a woman in sensible shoes. Well, it turns out that basically it doesn't matter how good you are for this job, no matter how suited you might be for this job and how well the job might fit you, if you cannot sign on the line that you are a regular attendee of a aligned church, you aren't qualified for the job. Well, I find that a bloody furphy, and it's an insult.
Music has long been used as a weapon by theists. This latest example is by a Nigerian choir. See this video.
And you don't have Jesus Christ. You don't have anything. No, you don't have anything. No, no, no. You don't have anything. You are empty and empty and empty. If you say you're a big boy or big girl and you don't have Jesus Christ, you don't have anything. You don't have anything. You don't have anything. You are empty and empty and empty. If you say you're a big boy or a big girl and you don't have Jesus Christ, you don't have anything. You don't have anything. You are empty. You are empty and empty.
At a large camp meeting message, the preacher is against beards. See this video.
Churches today, you walk in some of them, there's more beards in there than there are out in the street. I'm going to tell you something. Facial hair is not apostolic. However you want to cut it, it's compromise. I don't care if your leader says you can wear a beard, honey. Beard's nothing more than pride. You're not going to be dipped in Holy Ghost oil and run around looking like the world. We don't need beards. We need more oil. We need more Joashes. We need more people in an altar. We need more prayer rooms. We need more people digging into the things of God.
Following last week's very enjoyable show with Dr. Wendy Rocks on earthquakes, do watch that if you can. This week's Free Thought Hour guest is Chris Shelton, who escaped from Scientology a while ago and now runs a critical YouTube channel. If you want to find out more about this weird cult that Tom Cruise belongs to and Katie Holmes has left, stay here, because in a few minutes you can join in by texting your comments and questions. And don't forget to watch Global Atheist News Review, our spin-off show where a panel of opinionated people get a chance to express their views on this very news. The GAN team will be back with our weekly news report next week. Please like, share, subscribe, comment, and set the notifications. This has been Global Atheist News. Thank you for watching.